Good afternoon, good Tuesday, good Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and or Sunday. It's Val Verde Broadcasting here, back once again with the Renegade Master. This could be a disaster, with another commentary track for you to play along with your favourite film, which today is 28 Days Later, the not zombie film.
Yes, I'll talk about that because Danny Boyle, real insistent it's not a zombie film. It just says all the tropes of a zombie film, but never mind. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yes, I am, of course, the Duncan Casey of stage and screen, and sometimes your earlobes as well, but that's, well, like today, I suppose. And Richard Jackson to my left here is an cinematographer and or videographer.
Pile of synapses guiding a mannequin made of bacon.
Something like that.
Wow.
Like the Men in Black guy.
Yes.
On Orion's belt. That's where he lives.
Who calls it a belt? No one calls that a... Anyway.
Well, in the context of that film, it was... Well, it's actually a collar.
It's a collar. It was a collar.
So if you're going to watch along, please get your copy of 28 Days Later to the beginning again and press play now.
So this is, interestingly to us, this is a film that begins in Cambridge, and there's not much Cambridge on film in terms of other, background stuff and in things like The Theory of Everything. But this starts in Cambridge was famous for, Cambridgeshire was famous for playing host to Huntington Life Sciences, yes. But there's also the Cambridge University must have animal testing lab stuff because it's scientific, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Also, Alex Garland opened Dread like this with kind of scanline news footage stuff.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. Yes, it's one of my favourite films. I saw this in a cinema 5 times because there weren't any zombie films then, and there was never ones in London, so I was insanely hyped for this. And when it came out, I saw it 4 or 5 times in the cinema, various midnight shows.
Quite
and
the zombiphile, aren't you? Is this? So I guess we're showing hordes of non-zombie humans.
Yeah, this is just supposed to show general unrest and sort of man's inhumanity toward man.
Right. Is that actual stock footage?
Well, here's the thing. I think the more gruesome stuff is staged because they didn't want to use like real footage. There's a man being lynched and stuff. So I think the more gruesome stuff is staged. Keeping in mind the budget for this was only £5 million.
50 million.
50 million quid. And the most interesting thing of this is that it's all shot on not just videotape but mini DV videotape.
Yeah.
So it has this look. I mean,
sweaty monkey.
Sweaty monkey. It's a chimpanzee. It's a great ape, not a monkey.
Grape.
They're making wine out of it.
Yeah.
So of course,
it's his piss.
This is the scene where the animal rights activists transmit the virus by licking the monkey's eye. They'll let it sneeze in their mouths.
I've heard if you lick a monkey's eye, it'll get you really high.
Is it true?
Like a pie in the sky.
I went to the preview of this, so I think it was at midnight the day before it came out, and it was in a packed cinema in Cambridge. And I've said this before last time we did this, but when it said Cambridge Research Centre, it was the sound of 500 people going, huh. At once. Like not a cacophonous cheer or anything, just like
we got a mention.
So there's loads. Yeah, so Anthony Dodd Mantle shot this, and he won an Oscar, I think, for Bombay Bad Boy. Slumdog Millionaire. I want to say Bombay
Sapphire.
Slumdog Millionaire, and he's been Danny Boyle's guy in a bunch of stuff. His cinematographer for Dread. They basically filmed on mini DV tapes. It's commercially available videotape. On Canon, mostly on Canon XL1s, which were at one time they were a 30 grand interchangeable lens mini DV camera. Right. Now you can't give them away; they're just sort of curios. Like Michael Moore used to use XL1s, the kind of documentary maker's camera. The main reason for that was they were allowed to shut down London for the opening scenes, but they only had minutes at a time to shoot, and the only way to do that was with mini DV cameras. So Dodd Mantle crewed. For those shots in London, 8 or 10 cameras at a time were pointed on the scene to get all the coverage because they were closing the streets and then letting people through. Because they remarked like it was kind of quasi possible then; it'd be impossible now just because how busy London is. But even then, London was, London at all hours of day, particularly the parts they show, is constantly busy. I'm down that way a lot, as you are, I know.
Yeah,
and like any time of day. Oh, David Schneider as well from Alan Partridge and Friday Night Armistice and various British comedy stuff.
The end of Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah, it's a train driver Mission Impossible. Yeah. Shared universe. So like this has this So I think they mounted ARRI lenses on the mini DV camera, so
It does look like shite. I mean,
Well,
but
this is the thing.
in a good way. Like, you know what I mean?
it looks like absolute shit. But it's kind of it's funny because they did it for practical reasons, which then meant they had to shoot the rest of the film on that format.
Yeah.
But it gives it such a weird feeling. It just feels kind of broken because of it, and I think that really works to its advantage. It's such an odd look and thing to do.
It traps it in a thing as well, because it really means it can't have a lot. I mean, this is Blu-ray, but it's like, might as well not be, because it's like, well,
I forget what this was like on the big screen, but it must have looked like absolute dog shit. But then in 2002, standards were different for how things looked and stuff. But all like the whites are blown out. It doesn't kind of interlace in a nice way. So like the transitions between frames are kind of smudgy. I think the XL1 is locked at the equivalent to 30 frames a second.
okay.
So kind of 30p.
Sort of hyper-real.
I said 25 or 30. I can't remember. It's locked. You can't go any higher. So this can be
Right.
So they didn't use them exclusively because there are kind of slow-mo shots in here.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they then treated them to match the rest of the footage and stuff, because it's not exclusively Canon XL1s. But I think part of the appeal of this as well, when it came out, was I had a mini DV camera in that kind of deluded young person's teenage way, because I was 19. Like it was, it made it feel like, oh well, we could have made this because I've got mini DV. Like I have mini DV. I know what mini DV is. I can relate to that, and used to sort of drool over the XL1 and the XL2 when I was on mini DV cameras. It's like we could have done this. Like this isn't. We couldn't have. It's £5 million and a famous director. But.
It gives it a sort of found footage feel without being found footage. You know what I mean? It's sort of, I prefer the suggestion of found footage in the sense of this. Yeah, this looks like it was recorded on something very amateur.
Yeah, because Cloverfield is all handheld, but it's really high res, glossy with like fake shitty scan lines on it.
Well, I'd rather put the handheld element into that than I would into the movement of the camera, if that makes sense. So it's like, because that's more like a POV, but it's like that doesn't really hold together narratively when someone's running away from a giant skyscraper monster, and it's like, well, why are you filming that, and why has it got? Who cut this together? Like,
look at his willy! Sorry.
There it is, Tommy Shelby's Willie.
That's very much your kind of Renaissance Christ pose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, look at more Willie, you perky blinder.
Shelby's Willie. Look at it there. He's got ginger pubes. I think you'd never get Cillian Murphy to do that now, would you?
Yeah,
maybe you would. I don't know.
Feature debut, and he's got his wang out.
He looks Simeon-like as well, doesn't he? Which I guess is kind of the point.
He must have been like, what, 20 something around here, 22 or something.
Fucking aged, man. Like he
looks exactly the fucking same, doesn't he?
He's great. If I could have anyone's career, or if I could have my career kind of go the same way as anyone, it'd probably be him, because he's had such an awesome, varied. Yeah, he's gotten to do really good work. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like because everyone slurps the cock of Tom Hardy. That's the off-brand.
Yeah, Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Cillian Murphy's much better. More better. Let us bum out his willy.
But it's in low res.
Is it cold?
It's quite low res.
So interestingly, this is like Alex Garland and Danny Boyle sort of cite John Wyndham's Day of the Triffids for this, because Day of the Triffids. Have you ever experienced any Day of the Triffids? You know what it's about? Like it's
roughly, yeah.
So killer plants in a meteor shower makes everyone blind. The main character wakes up in hospital, bandaged because he's had an accident, so he's been able to he hasn't been able to look at the meteor shower, so he's one of the few sighted people in the world. When they cite this, interestingly, this and The Walking Dead beginning in pretty much exactly the same way, and they've both said they did come out released at similar times, and they've just said that it's a coincidence. It's not.
Well, it's a similar sort of idea for our short film. Not that I really want to be naked on film, but that is an idea of sort of being. It's like a rebirth.
We open with our hero's penis smushed against some glass.
It's lying face down on a glass floor, having shat himself.
Splaying his bum cheeks to show his anus.
Splaying.
We cut around as it begins to crown. Releasing on Pornhub.
No, but only in the sense of like it's that kind of it's that he's born into we're opening with he is literally naked. He's stripped of everything. He is just down to the bare bones, and he has to start rebuilding.
And it's absolute, isn't it? Like
yeah.
Yeah, mini DV. Like, all the whites are blown out. That data is just gone.
Yeah.
You've got an incredibly gifted cinematographer just working with like the shittest, like recording matter. I love all these framings and stuff are really great. This is kind of minimal.
The good thing about it is that because it's shot knowingly like that, it's not like something that was shot that way that you've lost stuff that you're supposed to see. Like, it's all you're not necessarily supposed to see it. It's just, it's almost like a news report, isn't it? It's like, it's not really.
Yeah, well, it does give it that kind of verisimilitude. London has changed so much. That skyline, this is only 20 years ago, but that skyline has just no shards, no gherkin. Like, it's London has exploded. Like, anything next to St Paul's there, I like that. They sort of broadly increase in size as you get. So yeah, they were out first thing in the morning, and the police allowed them to close streets for minutes at a time, like I say, and they were covering it from multiple angles and stuff to get it, particularly the stuff
to get that
when he gets down towards House of Parliament and stuff. I filmed in the House of Parliament last year, true story. Unfortunately, we weren't allowed to film outside of the room we were in, so you can't tell it's the House of Parliament, which is rather frustrating for my show reel, but there you go.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. I mean, to shut down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what makes this so stunning. I mean, it's different now because now you could just do it with computers, which is really work-intensive VFX stuff. But at the time, it was stunning because the only way they could have done this is the way they did it. Which
but it has a real, like, empty... I just don't think if you did that digitally now... I mean, I know it's very easy and glib for me to say that, and I'm sure...
Because Vanilla Sky did it.
People can make it look real, but, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, they're just by being empty, there's just something in the frame that is just really... Yeah, there's no gloss to it or anything.
So they get these... They are covering the same action from, like, 10 different angles, so they've got all the different...
Sure.
Because the back of the Horse Guards Parade. That's where the Olympic volleyball happened.
Right,
in 2012. Yeah, so and yeah, he's going around Whitehall and the Cabinet War Rooms and stuff. It's all the touristy place, but you never see it empty, and it's just so spooky. The track's called was it East Hastings by Godspeed You Black Emperor?
Right.
Ding, 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 ding. It's actually a 14-minute track. It's like this spooky track. But it's not in the soundtracks. They weren't allowed to use it, but they can for this.
Is that sort of a Mega Man type thing where it's like, imagine you woke up and no one was around, you'd be like, yes, I can go do whatever the fuck I want, but it's like,
oh,
turns out it's man. Or whatever. It's that thing of like,
turns out it's man.
There's that thing of like, also as well, the now knowing the story, of course, as well, like, because there's that thing as well where you walk around, he walks around, he's yelling, he's doing all sorts of stuff, and it's like, and if you knew that actually you don't want to be doing that.
That's what I really like about the rewatch. When you rewatch it, when he's walking around yelling, it's like, no, stop.
Yeah, that's the reason why you can't see anyone is A, they're all zombies, but B, they're all hiding. You know, anyone who's still a person is hiding like a motherfucker, and you're like just strolling around thinking you're safe as. Yeah.
There's a bit of wobble on that as well down that because they're shooting on a fucking mini DV camera with a long lens. Yeah. But all these shots are so good. I mean, look at that. It's London. You never see that.
That's smart though, because it's like the actual street bit isn't a massive part of the frame. Where is that, Old Street or something?
No, that's got to be around Piccadilly way because he's all sort of.
Yeah, I was gonna say because you can't have walked that far.
Yeah. And it's Centre Point. So he walks around the West End pretty much is what he does, and those are the most. That's another bit. It's kind of like no, stop. So yeah, they use this Godspeed You Black Emperor track like edited, and it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and builds until the first encounter really kicks off. It's really great.
It's really good as well doing the they're not zombies thing, but like it's vicious, it's fucking unrelenting. That's what you need. Something like Walking Dead is frustrating because it's like unless you, and I think The Walking Dead sustains it very well, but it can only go so far just by dint of the fact of what it is, and it's like they can't be a threat all the time. It's like they can't. It needs to be something you feels inevitable that you can't. Eventually, you'll never be able to get away from it all, and B, like it's you really don't want to get caught by those things. Like there can't be the hero gets pinned to the floor but he manages to get away kind of thing. It's like no, if they get to you, you're dead. You're
done. Yeah, and the way it's transmitted is so. Well, I mean, because this Danny Boyle's a bit. I really like him and I really like his films. He was such a precious arse about this not being a zombie film, and I think you can kind of get away with that at the time. And it's like, look, man, like all the tropes are here just because they're alive. I mean, it isn't on a technical level. No, it is not. It's not technically a zombie film, but on every other level, it functions as well.
I tend to call things zombie films that aren't zombie films anyway. It's like there are certain films that come out that are basically talking about zombies, essentially. It's like it's still playing, it still has the same theme, even if they're not quote unquote zombies in the kind of Romero type.
Yeah.
I still think the theme is hordes of people or crowds are dangerous. Like, even if you're talking about a film of riots, it's still a kind of zombie. It approaches the same subject. Watched The Crazies last night. Have you seen that?
Yeah, of course. What, the remake or the
I guess
the Timothy Heflin? That's a remake of a George Romero movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like that remake, actually.
Well, technically, they're all remakes of a George Romero.
Oh, yes.
I guess. But yeah,
the George Romero one is like this. It's about a kind of pathogen. It's not a zombie thing. It's kind of. In fact, the remake is a bit more zombie-ish because it's designed to cash in on them.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like it. I think it's really good. I think it's very visceral. Except the ending is a bit.
Right, yeah, it is a bit. Just sort of farts to an end. So they researched sort of outbreaks in third world countries and stuff, and it seems the practice of piling bodies into churches is something that occurs. Yeah, just because of the kind of religious awe and stuff. So I love this as well because
they're not dead though, are they?
Well, not all. Some of them aren't, and it's the way they just sort of because he kind of sarcastically addresses the room, and the way they just turn and look at him.
Oh God, yeah.
It's really horrible. I mean, this in itself. Hey, look, George Romero said he ripped off I Am Legend for his exact words were, "I ripped off I Am Legend for Night of the Living Dead," and this is very much like I Am Legend.
I sort of wish though that I could see it a bit better. Oh God,
look at that! That's kind of what makes it spooky though as well, because that's so indistinct. They're looking at him, and it's still kind of like, okay,
yeah.
Because this guy's a movement coach, the vicar that comes out. But, okay, I'm sorry, Father. He just clocks him in the head.
Drink. Arse. Fake.
You will address me by my proper title.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's that standing up and looking with that look on their faces, like let the audience do the. I mean, again, the audience presumably going still knows what.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. It would be best to watch this without the marketing. I've got a feeling now, if you showed this to most people who didn't know the concepts, they'd probably think you just had a pirate copy.
It's true, yeah. I mean, it does look like that.
But
yeah, the ones that are just there, they stand up and they've got that open mouth, like stare on their faces, like,
blood running out their eyes and stuff, and they're all kind of pallid. Because there's some I'm not sure if it is slow motion. There's at very least like some super high shutter speed stuff with the when the zombies on fire. The shutter speed's all the way up. I'm pretty sure there's at least one or two slow mo shots in it. It's quite a nice day to night transition as well. They've kind of hidden it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel jarring.
Not this like X-Men 3.
It's hard to watch at the moment because we've got sun streaming in the window and I haven't got any blackout curtains. But
I love this, the kind of chaos of this, because the infected are screaming, but those two are just screaming at him as well, like, come on!
Yeah. It's one of them. One of them's Naomi Harris, isn't it?
Naomi Harris, yeah, and that guy who's in adverts and things.
That's me.
It's just,
I'm in adverts and things. Just not those adverts. Great body burn. Yeah. That's the good thing. I mean, like, if you're on the face of it, you look at this and go, £5 million.
This shot. Wait, that shot.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder does that pretty much exactly in the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Okay.
Which owes a lot. Dawn of the Dead remake owes a hell of a lot to this film.
Okay.
It's also a film I like a lot. Sorry, it's in daytime, I think, when they do it in the Zack Snyder one, but it's the exact same shot of like the.
Is that a real? Did they do that for realsies?
Not in the wides, but I believe in the close-ups. Yeah, it's kind of a dressed up thing that they've blown up. Yeah, because I mean, this was before affordable. Because now for $5 million you can do insane stuff with VFX, but this was still a time where you more or less just had to do stuff.
That's where they've spent the money, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing to look at this. I guess if you're an exec, you'd be like, "This looks like shit." It's like, what? You spent $5 million? It's like you've got blowing up this, that, and the other. But it's like actually that.
When you get to, this is the thing, isn't it? Like you get to, but you're Danny Boyle, right?
But also, it gives it more veracity because actually, to see it in shito-vision, but actually that sort of stuff, that scale of stuff happening, you're like, that almost gives it more of a,
it's a hard
reality.
one to split the difference over, because it looks like this is before you had a camera in your phone, so it was people had mini DV cameras and it looked like your home movies. And again, me and my friends were shooting loads of home movies at the time, and it was either us just dicking about or setting each other on fire. It was like sort of like little sarcastic film, but it looked like what we were making to our untrained eyes, when in actual fact it's filmed by a brilliant cinematographer. But it's got that kind of look of videotape, and again, as sort of a dumb teenager, it's kind of like, it's like what we do. It's like, no, it's not. Idiot. So I think it's a really shitty video, so you lose so much. Like the low light performance on this type of video is really good. It won't be too boring, but like it's good low light performance, but you lose a lot in the highlights, which really comes out because there's so many blown out whites and stuff. But you can normally, because it's really noisy, because you can get that kind of gainy look if you do it that way.
I don't like it when Jeffrey Unsworth done it, but I like it when
Danny Boyle done it. Jeffrey Unsworth smeared his arsehole on the lens for Superman the movie. And hey, he was. Oh man, I could. I'm kidding. I could mount a rousing defence of that. I know you're pulling my leg. Yep. I know you're pulling my leg. Oh, there's some really odd transitions in this as well, because they do a kind of like. Oh yeah. There's one where they're asleep and they do like the frame is blended between their heads and like the London skyline. It's a really kind of dreamy. That is
often done in horror. I mean, I know. Don't they? Coppola did that in Bram Stoker's Dracula, didn't he? There's a lot of that kind of into the landscape kind of thing.
And this there's quite a few kind of odd little expressive moments in this, because like when they go to his house, he's in his kitchen like reminiscing about his family, but it plays out like a film projected on the wall, and it just looks like he's watching a video, which he obviously isn't, because there's no electricity and stuff. Because I've heard people who are like, oh mate, the zombies wouldn't have come if you hadn't watched that video, and it's like, no, he's lit a candle and he's walking about, like that's what did it. He's not like got a projector out. Which he's hand cranked.
There's her face in the thing.
Yeah, see that's an odd one. The kind of blending of, they blend the shots together, and there's again later. It's when they're at Jim's mum and dad's house.
Fantastic, ever youthful Naomi Harris.
She looks exactly the fucking same, doesn't she? Now, like,
she's beautiful. I've seen her in real life.
I definitely. Well, fancy Naomi Harris. She's hot.
For sure. Yeah. She's also very cool. Like she's a really cool vibey.
Cool vibe.
You get some people like that where their personality really is kind of, or appears to be anyway, like right on the surface, and she's certainly one of them. She's really good in this. She's really good in lots of things, man.
I like her a lot. Like I think she was a bit wasted in the Pirates of the Caribbean, where they just rolled her out to be comedy voodoo lady, and then
I didn't see that.
It's in like the second one, I think.
She's in After the Sunset with Pierce, directed by the Rat.
The Rat,
there he is.
Good Brett, you know.
He was all shot in Nassau in the Bahamas. She does a sort of. She's supposed to be Bahamian in that, but she is just Jamaican.
Right. Okay.
She's like, you could have just been Jamaican. I mean, it wouldn't really matter. But.
I think, Cillian Murphy, I think, really became a thing off of this, really. And Naomi Harris, she'd done one or two things as a child star, I think.
I heard you, okay.
I mean, really, you're talking about Chris Eccleston and Brendan Gleeson are the known character actors in this.
Yeah.
And it's Chris Eccleston just before he did Doctor Who by a few years. But in this country, Chris Eccleston's been a name for years.
He was in things like what's the Nicolas Cage?
Gone in 60 Seconds. Sure. Yeah, he started to have a bit of a push in Hollywood, but he'd done like Let Him Have It about Derek Bentley, and was he in Our Friends in the North? Was everyone in Our Friends in the North? I think sort of worthy TV dramas he was in.
He in yes, I think he was. Yeah, because it was him, Mark Strong,
Daniel
Craig, and what's the other one? There's a bunch of
just northern people. None of those people.
They weren't even northern. Yeah. Daniel Craig doing a really impossible.
He's got insane wig on as well, hasn't he?
At one point, yeah. They started that. I vaguely remember it. It starts off with him and. Is it him and Eccleston or him and Strong? And they're like pals up in Manchester. And they're walking around in suits like what do you call them? Mods or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they kind of he ends up in a life of crime.
It like degenerates and
Strong ends up as a good series, I think.
Yeah, it was very well loved at the time.
Andy Pryor cast that, actually, I think. Casting director, Andy Pryor. Extraordinaire. So, yeah, this is... there's a few kind of expressive moments as well. There's a bit where they drive past a meadow. And they drive past like a dick, and it's been blown off, and it's hit the wall, and it's preserved perfectly on this... Sorry.
What was that?
I don't know, I just felt like being silly, as per usual.
A Geordie sort of commentary about a mummified willy stuck to a wall.
It's like someone's dick's been blown clean off. Clean off.
Sorry,
they drive past the field.
These the same couple that played Luke's auntie and uncle in Star Wars.
Uncle Ben.
See, we're more than just charred corpses. We're rotten corpses as well.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? Because then they got a picture of him.
Yeah, they've basically said don't wake up, so they've died together rather than. Yeah, it's pretty fucking horrible.
It's awful, isn't it? It's
quite low. It's quite a kind of. It's a low register, isn't it? Because he doesn't like wail or anything. He's got this.
Well,
you kind of feel. You can feel the hurt in him, but it's not overwrought. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's real. You know, I think if. I think it's, don't get me wrong, someone could walk in on that and be aghast. I think what's really true in those sorts of situations is that you don't have an immediate emotional reaction. It's when you have to sit with yourself afterwards that's when it all comes at you. Like that's.
It's nice they left him a note.
Yeah. That's the real sad bit. You know what I mean? It's like reading what they said. And
I just this film just conveys that emptiness really well. That bit of shaved head where they've stitched his brain back in is quite a stylish haircut now.
Yeah.
So Skrillex copied that.
Because what's happened to him? Why was he in a hospital bed?
He was a bicycle courier and he was hit off his bike. And I think initially the film was supposed to open with that bicycle accident. Because there's a lot of alternate endings and a completely different third act.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the whole third act with different characters and none of the soldiers. Yeah, they didn't shoot. They didn't shoot it.
Turns up.
Willy Wonka's in it. Nick Fury meets them all at the end. There's on the DVD. There's this. Danny Boyle reads the script and narrates the storyboards because they didn't shoot frame one of it, but it's a completely different ending.
Wow.
And then there's a shot ending. There are shot endings where Jim dies, but they didn't go with that. Jim lives. It's a bit too depressing.
Is he in 28 Weeks Later? I've not seen it. No.
Oh, you've not seen it at all?
No.
They're completely different characters.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's got Idris Elba in it and Jeremy Renner and Robert Carlyle. It's all a bit glossy and it's shot on film, I think.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah?
It's good. Yeah, it's not as good as this. And it loses I kind of think it loses the kind of grunginess of it, but it's cool. It's very action-y, but I liked it. Right. It's no Tremors 2 Aftershocks or Underseas 2 Dark Territory.
Oh.
But what is, though,
That's
in this
true.
day and age? Then the sad thing happened, and I was sad, and then I was just in insurance adverts the rest of my life.
They blew my dick clean.
But my dad, he caught up on this kiosk, then his dick fell off.
This is weird.
I don't know where this came from.
No.
We were talking before. We were talking over lunch. It's been revealed in the press today that it appears that Harvey Weinstein may have no testicles or deformed genitals, and I think that's perhaps where that's come from.
Maybe some sort of subliminally. Talking about it's the indignity of like.
It's my parents. Their dicks have come off.
I don't think I'm infected. His dick falls off. Like, see this thud on the car roof that he's standing on. Like, oh God. That's what happens. One of two things happen. You turn into a zombie-like creature, or your dick falls off.
Your dick falls off.
Yeah, look, his face is up on the... It's almost like you're seeing
it's all blended into the scene. It's odd.
Through a car windscreen with like a... That's done in a lot of films, though, where you've got someone sort of sleeping and they're in the skyline.
Well, Boyle does a few bits like that, because the next collaboration for Garland and Boyle was Sunshine.
Garland
and Boyle. There's a lot of kind of lens flares and stuff blended into that, and the kind of things where they look at the photographs of Mark Strong's crew and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
So I've got I really love Sunshine, actually. Really like that film.
Yeah, I want to. Every now and again, that's a film I like to bring out every couple of years and watch. I've got it on Blu-ray. It's good.
There's Adagio in D minor, which is that piece of music that John Murphy made for that film. Has been reused in ads over and over and over again, and they use it in Big Daddy's scene in Kick-Ass, where he's like attacking the factory. And there's one in The House in a Heartbeat, which is because John Murphy did this music as well. That's used on ads and other movies and all sorts. So this is the thing, because it does look like he's watching a projection.
There's near porn on it.
Or if you could just comp in, just look, it's in his window and everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like his memory. And again, they do this with the photographs in Sunshine.
Yes.
It's kind of first person perspective and stuff.
It's almost like memories kind of exist in the ether. The way it's done in kind of Sunshine is it's almost like, because they've walked onto Icarus 2 and it's like it's all flashing. It's like a sort of It's almost like this, but their image, like you say, it's media that's flashing. It's not a flashback.
And it makes it feel like they're in a poison environment. Like,
yeah,
because he's wearing his scrubs in that footage as well. This is their neighbours, isn't it? He's kind of like, oh, it's Mr. Smith, whatever.
Borrow some sugar.
Sugar. Your dog shit on my lawn again.
See, how does none of his blood get on Cillian Murphy there, though?
Yeah.
It's like infected
in your mouth and you're right. It's the other thing is how quickly it gets you in it. And it's you don't know whether this guy. I still think she overreacts. Like, because like if he starts twitching, like cut his fucking head off. But she just straight up butchers him. It's fucking rough.
She's so good in this because she really is has that edge of like, you really want to, like, obviously you really kind of fancy her, but she's also like
really scary.
You wouldn't fuck with her at all. Yeah, exactly. She's properly scary. Is that Noah Huntley? Is that who that is?
I have no idea. It sounds like something you would probably know.
He was.
If it's just the ferocity of this.
Yeah.
She just fuck it, and his arm comes off.
Has to put a foot on it to get him off.
So it seems, she and Danny Boyle worked out a backstory for her to show why she's, because she's designed, she softens up, but she's presented as really unlikable because she's just kind of, hurt. She's supposed to, I think it was like her parents got infected, so she killed them to save her little brother, who turned out was infected anyway.
It is Noah Huntley. There you go. He was in Snow White and Huntsman. I was there when he was training, and then he is the Burning Man in Event Horizon.
Is he?
Yeah.
I don't know that. Yeah, I feel mean now.
Event Horizon.
I always know him as the guy from this because then he turns up in ads and things.
Same way as he does, because I kind of like wouldn't mind.
He just looks the same, doesn't he? Like when you see him.
He just looked indistinct look, but in a kind of, I don't know.
A nondescript face.
He's got
mine.
Yeah. In fact,
Land of the Dead, which was after this. I think he knew the credit were above it.
Right.
And it's kind of like, come on, man. Because at least Alex Garland, he was like, yeah, he liked Resident Evil, the games. In fact, he said it was Resident Evil that got him back into zombies.
I think that's true of a lot of things, actually. That's the sort of unsung renaissance for zombie stuff, I think, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I think that really gave it a kick back up the arse. Put it this way, like Resident Evil 2, the spaced zombie episode is based around Resident Evil 2, and then Shaun of the Dead is based on the spaced episode.
Yeah.
So
is
this tower block was a real tower block. It's been torn down now. It was derelict when they did this.
Then no. Yes. I mean, yes.
No. Just no.
You know what I mean?
No.
Sorry. No. I mean, what was I going to say? This. When did the first Resident Evil come out? 2002.
Oh no, I'm talking about the games.
No, I know.
Oh, the first. Who cares? No.
It was around this time, was it?
Around this, I think 2001, 2002. I think.
Predates this because it's 2002.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think it might be 2001 because I was in. I was in college because I wrote a snotty essay about it when I was a teenager. So, yeah. Well, I don't know. Look it up, man. I try my best to pay as little respect to that film as possible.
Well, like because it was 2002, so the same year.
Same year. Yeah.
Arguably, this is the more successful. If this was a zombie film, it would be better.
What the chain was about. It's just a council flat chain.
Is it it's a hoist of some kind that they've jury rigged, I guess.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yes, this is a real block of flats that London's full of these that are still coming down all over and that they filmed in.
Yeah.
I remember one of my friends was kind of like, because like the joke here is like, she's like, oh, do you want medicine? Do you want water? And he goes like, you got any Tango? And she's like, oh, I've got Fanta or something like that.
Right. And
it was kind of like, oh, I hate that. It's like product placement. It's like, mate, this is not product. This is like a £5 million film. That's not product placement. And also, if the joke is, oh, do you have orangey box? No, I have citrus tang. It's like the joke doesn't land.
Yeah.
Because you
can't make up stuff. I mean, I think with a lot of these things, I don't know if it was the case back then, but the time was you had to pay them to use their products.
Yeah.
Because you technically weren't allowed to sort of talk about.
So presumably that's what's happened here.
Yeah.
I don't think it's product placement. And again, it's all, this film's all about verisimilitude. So if it's got like fake brands in it, it's just
Yeah, of course. I think sometimes generally speaking, I think it's if you say, look, we're making this film, can we? You have to certainly get a license to do it.
Please.
But yeah, they may not have paid them for it, but they could have probably given their permission or something. Like, we don't want... It's that stupid thing as well. We don't want our product associated with this horror film. It's like, You're not. People aren't going like, "Oh, I'm not going to drink Pepsi because a zombie film."
Because a zombie outbreak. They should do what they do in Witherspoons, where it's kind of like, "Oh, I'm drinking Coke." It's like, "Well, it's Pepsi, okay."
Yeah.
Yeah, so they do. Man, I can't remember what there's a thing they do when they film The Infected, and I think it's the camera's undercranked.
There's definitely something
because you see
there,
that kind of frame skips and stuff. So I think it's like high shutter speed, but it's undercranked camera, so it's like at the equivalent of like 12 frames a second or something. And what they do is, so quite a lot of time when you see The Infected kind of encroaching on the scene, they're filmed like that. But then later on, when Jim's kind of losing his mind, they film Jim like that because, in the third act they build this ambiguity that maybe he's got infected, but in fact he's just gone fucking John Rambo on it. And also this, I think when they go into the third act, the start of the third act opens with a Simpsons reference, which is great.
Is it?
Yeah, the Scottish sergeant, Jim's kind of knocked out, and it's fading up the audio of what he's saying, and he's like, and then he says, "We all know what you think, Smithers," and that was always my favourite joke in the Simpsons.
Right.
And then it goes off into like another bit. I think there's, Alex Garland before, he was the guy who wrote The Beach, and Danny Boyle directed The Beach, which was kind of quite heavily changed in the telling and the adaptation and stuff.
Yes, I've read the book and watched the film. I've seen it.
Yeah, so
yeah. It always it's that thing of like films tend to be, once you've read the novel, especially if you've read it first and then seen the film, it's always felt like a kind of. It always feels really hollow. Like it's that thing. It was like, all right, this is some sort of visual representation of kind of what the book sort of might be like.
There's some really terrible bits in that film, like when it turns into a video game, like Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, this feels like a geography teacher doing a rap. You know what I mean? It's that real kind of. So I don't know. It was weird, but whatever happened, Boyle and Garland got this kind of collaboration going. So they did Sunshine afterwards, and then obviously Alex Garland's a bloody film director now. Ex Machina being one of my favourite movies of the last decade, and Dread obviously. As I just tried my best not to mention that anymore because I won't shut up about it.
It's got shares in it or something.
I wish. Well, no, I don't, because it did quite well at the box office.
More Paul
around. So here we have. I think I said to you earlier, and I'm not 100% verified on this, but I understand that Jim in the script was written as English, and they cast Cillian Murphy, who obviously is Irish, and I believe it was like he couldn't quite get the accent down, so they just went play it Irish. Was the idea, and it wasn't in the marketing either. He wasn't
puts him to shame by doing a Cockney accent.
Exactly. Brendan Gleeson rolls out and he's just so believable as a cabbie, like a London cabbie. Megan Burns, who plays his daughter, is Scouse.
All right.
And I don't want to be mean, but she does not do a good accent, and it slips all over the place. And whatnot.
Really?
She went on to be in like a kind of pop goth. She was like the singer in like a pop goth band for a bit.
Yeah.
I can't remember what she's got. She calls herself something like, I don't know, Chloe Graveyard or something. I can't remember.
Okay.
But she's a musician now, and she was in this band, and I don't know what she's up to at the moment, but she didn't really do a heck of a lot after this. I think she did one or two things and then went off to be a musician.
It is very difficult. I think the problem is as well, but people often say things about actors and stuff. They're like, oh, I don't really do anything afterwards. And it's like, well, unless you have everything set up, unless you have an agent with and you've got casting directors getting you in for lots of things, and you've got lots of scope to go and do other stuff, it's very hard to because bear in mind, you shoot the film, there's probably a year before it comes out in whatever way it's going to come out, and then if it's a success, you've got that big gap. So I remember saying about like Brandon Routh. He was a classic example of it. It wasn't like he went from 0 to 100.
Yeah, he was already doing TV and stuff.
He was already doing TV and that kind of thing, but it was like he didn't have, like, between like waiting for Superman Returns to come out, he didn't have any other gig really to speak of. So it's kind of like that comes out, and if it's a hit or not, it's like to follow it up is going to take another year or whatever, because you've got to shoot something else, then it's got to come out.
What I know of Megan Burns, like, I think she chose to sort of leave it behind. You know what I mean?
Fair,
like, it was, I often think of, you know how he has to shave without water. I often think of that. It's just like, that sounds like the worst. I probably
Bill
rather
Duke
keep
enjoyed
the
it.
beer on. Yes, well, he appeared to be using his own sweat as lubricant, as far as I can tell. Also, didn't seem to have any kind of facial hair, which kind of adds to that moment. It just makes him look a bit nuts.
Yeah. Long tall fella, it's a pretty thick cigar, everything you need.
I have me some fun. Probably improvised because he's mad.
Well, he's mad then, and then seconds later he's like, "I see you." Like, pass him trees. He's like gets his shit back together.
This is her just being. She's just all like, we'll leave him behind. Fuck him. I'm tough.
I'm a bitch. I'm a lover. I'm a child. I
really want you to play it like Alanis Morissette. That would be great.
On set, we're gonna put earphones in you, and you're gonna play that on a loop until you A, either become it, or B, are driven insane.
Was it fucking...
Which would be ironic. No, it wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't.
That's the point.
Now you see. Oh. Peter Weller says when he was doing RoboCop, like he was listening to Peter Gabriel when he was walking around with the helmet on.
Yeah. No. I want to be
raw fledge.
You could have a bumper car.
Up and down, around the bend. RoboCop sings, available for a limited time.
Such classics.
I look at this scene, which I assume it could be digital, but I don't know if it is actually. But when they pan out and all the shit that he's got on the roof,
bet they did that for real. Man.
Yeah, which must have taken fucking forever. They're quite close to the Isle of Dogs. The Isle of Dogs being the setting for the sequel, by the way. So Canary Wharf is kind of where that's set. If you look closely, there's a few things that are totally... There's like colanders and like washing baskets and stuff. There's a few things. He tries to Ray Mears it with his plastic sheet, but it doesn't work. I still say this all the time. Look, they see the washing basket there?
What use
is
that?
I can't remember what he says. He goes, it hasn't rained in weeks. You wouldn't know it. Not in fucking England. And I quite often find an excuse to say, not in fucking England.
Yeah, it's
that's a great shot, that wide.
Yeah, it's got a real... Wow,
that's green screen as fuck, isn't it?
Yeah. But then I think it's supposed to be a bit iffy, isn't it? It's not supposed to look that really...
Well, there's a lot of kind of dreamy stuff in this. I mean, I think another thing with the kind of shooting on tape is that it really gives it that CCTV vibe, and they do quite a lot of like... Dodd Mantle does a lot of like kind of pivots and tilts and things that look like CCTV. It kind of creates that strange thing of being overlooked when in fact you're not. Because this stuff, I wonder, certain shots here, I wonder if that's shot on something a bit higher end and then they've kind of treated it to look... Because I don't know. I know for a fact that, like I said, XL1s were using mini DV tape, but I don't know what camera setups were used for the entire film because it's more to it than just that.
Oh, okay.
But, it doesn't suddenly just jump to 35mm, so that'd be insanely jarring.
Yeah.
It is a funny one, this, because that's such a mad choice, and it's something you're then stuck with forever.
Yeah.
It's not like this was processed and like the footage is available in a different format. It was shot on that format, and
well, that's what I mean. It's sort of a time capsule in that, not in that obviously all film is a time capsule, but in the sense of like, it can't transcend mediums really.
Yeah,
like it will always ever look like this, and you can buy the ultra 5 billion K.
That's
whatever.
What it is. It's like when you certain documentaries and stuff that are released in ultra HD, and it's like, mate, that was shot on tape 40 years ago or whatever.
But it also shits on that business model of trying to resell you the same bloody film 1,000 times. It's like, well, I mean, unless you don't want a physical copy of it, then
that's all dying a fucking death anyway, isn't it? Because of streaming.
Yeah.
But I did watch. I was just sort of doing a bit of research around this, and kind of cursory. I mean, because this is a film that I've it's one of my favourite movies, so I've gathered a lot of info about it over the years. But there's quite a lot of like 28 days later looks like shit, and then you go into the post, it's like, I heard about this movie, it looks like crap. Like, what the fuck? And someone
it's like,
going,
I like it to look sort of glossy and
I mean, it's a pretty big. The thing is, it's a £5 million film. Possibly even dollars actually, because it was funded by Fox Searchlight, so I know if it's pounds or dollars. But it's not an expensive film. I love shots like that. That's just a really grim bit of foregrounding. To do it, it's a kind of smallish horror film made by a known director, but it's still quite a move to just shoot the fucker on videotape like this.
I mean, I can't see any execs signing off on that. But then I guess if it's a Searchlight film, and I mean, that's $5 million at the time is a speculative, like, whatever. Like, they'll write that off.
Yeah. And in this country, it made, I think, I don't know if it's opening weekend, but it made 6.1 million, right? So in this country, homegrown horror film, I don't know if you remember, but it had quite a lot of buzz. And a bit of the big selling point was, it's empty London. We hadn't really seen that before. But it's when it went to the States, on a limited release, it made something like 45 million.
Wow.
And it's like, it's made 10 times its budget, almost. 9 times its budget. In that territory, and it got a lot of traction, which is why we got a sequel and stuff like that. And again, you're gonna slap the director of Trainspotting or the posters and stuff like that, aren't you? And the writer of The Beach and whatever. So yeah, it's funny that they were able to get away with this. But again, when it is a small horror movie, I suppose you can say, hey, look, we're going to do this mad thing of shitting it on tape, and it's going to look like shit forever, but it's all part of the charm. And it's something that to me was always just like, 28 days later, shot on tape. Of course it is. That was a big exciting thing for me. And watching it again recently, I was kind of like, yeah, Jesus, 20 years later, man, they really did shoot this fucker on tape, and it really looks like it.
Is that a common trope to zombie films, that there's that moment of respite, which I suppose is the start of the second act, where usually you come across a character or whatever who's managed to fortify themselves, but they're within
a kind of pit stop.
Well, it's a pit stop, but they're in the case, so they're surrounded by the danger, but where they are is safe.
That does happen a lot. Yeah,
they have to be convinced to leave that safety.
The structure of this film, credit to God, because Sunshine is kind of a remix of a number of space movies. Yeah. This is a remix of a number of apocalypse and zombie things. And yeah, I will say the structure of this kind of cut and paste a number of different things. There's
nothing wrong with that. I mean,
of course. Well, it's to do it in your own way and do it with panache. And
those are all strong tropes, and that are there for it. That it's about putting the audience in the right place. This is a kind of classic shot, isn't it?
The rats escape. That's great. And then it's another thing that Zack Snyder uses in the Dawn remake, like the
shadow of the zombie.
The shadows cutting across the wall.
Yeah.
So these guys, quite a lot of the infected, and I know for sure these guys are sprinters and athletes.
Right.
Because they wanted that kind of, firstly, for them to be able to run all day in takes and not get tired.
Sure.
But secondly, it kind of brings a certain physicality, because the idea is they haven't been eating and they've been running, so they're all wiry and,
Yeah.
This is great. The quick tyre change, the pit stop. And that's Frank hulks out as well.
Yeah, he just picks the damn thing.
There's quite a lot of
get
darkness
out of
and
the
screaming.
cab so he doesn't have as much weight to
No, I'm sitting down.
No, I'm tired.
I've been on my feet for days. Let me sit down, for God's sake. No, if I'm not in the car, who's going to look after my anvil?
You're what?
My anvil, I told
you. For feck's sake.
You helped me drag it up the stairs.
Although Brendan Gleeson doesn't sound like this. You what?
You fucking what?
There's
a great little insert there where the infected's face is kind of lit up by the rear wheels of the car, and it kind of
got blood red eyes and stuff.
They go to Budgeons now, which I always find really funny. But there you go. They go to Budgeons. Oh, there's another Simpsons reference, because he goes up to the apples, and the apples that aren't rotted, and he goes, irradiated.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Alex Garland's all about those little things. I've mentioned. Oh, so Paul Rose of Digitizer fame, who I showed you you remember the George Lucas Pooh thing.
Yeah.
And Sting.
Yeah.
So he used to write Digitize for teletext, and he has a channel called Digitizer 2000 on YouTube, which I like very much. I crowdfunded one of his things. I'm a fan. Alex Garland was a huge fan of that teletext page, and when that teletext page closed down, Alex Garland wrote a eulogy on it. So the last ever day of Digitizer on teletext, back in 2003, I suppose it was, had a little kind of eulogy written by Alex Garland.
Oh.
So there you go. And actually, there's a chapter in one of the catchphrases from that teletext page was "you messed up," which quite a broad phrase. But there's a chapter in The Beach named after that catchphrase.
Okay.
So there you go. There's the feedback from these films into a teletext gaming page. Supermarket. So again, where's Dale Winton? The late Dale Winton.
Yeah. That's what I'd do, man. I'd take all the whiskey.
Yeah, that's it. You're not going to get another fucking chance, are you?
Just to rip those annoying security tags off them.
You would not want to set off the alarm.
Indeed.
In this situation.
Well, presumably it wouldn't still be working, although the lights are on, aren't they? So
Take a couple. Oh yeah, because this is nice. Because what's done as a kind of thrown away gag later on, after they've shot Frank, Chris Eccleston's helping himself to that whiskey, and Jim just sort of looks at it she just gives him this look. Oh, it's an access card. Jesus Christ, takes you back, kids. There are.
I mean, that's the fantasy fulfillment, isn't it? This is what.
Look at this. It's like a painting.
Impressionist painting.
It's impressionist painting, and I was told that shot was done in Cambridgeshire. That's like the fans. Okay. I was told.
It's Ireland's biggest laundry.
It's Ireland's biggest impressionist painting, so I'm told.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You're like, oh, if only everyone was just gone for a day, I could go into all the shops of where all the stuff I want is and just take it. You know, I mean, that's the kind of thing, like not having to earn it.
And then I'd get sad and kill myself.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's something interesting about that. That's what, you know, like, I guess I Am Legend sort of. Actually, you know what, to give it its credit, it does delve into what that would do to someone.
Yeah, it's kind of the I Am Legend film. Well, the Charlton Heston one, Omega Man, it goes way off book.
I don't like Rolex. I'm an Omega Man.
I just thought it was about a man who drank extra strong cider, like Frank here, siphoning the
that.
petrol. That he gobs out all that petrol. That's fucking so grim.
Yeah, but that is how you siphon petrol, isn't it?
Yeah. You got to
get it in your mouth.
Get it in your mouth. So there's a weird thing that happens now, and I believe it's something that wasn't intentionally living. So he goes into the cheeseburger place, and he has to kill a little boy, right? And this is like a
wee boy.
A wee boy. Hello there. He has to kill a wee boy, and the idea is, and they talk about this in the commentary track, the real commentary track, and I think it's not intentional, but they mix. Yeah, this is the real. I'm Danny Boyle. Hello, I'm Danny Boyle. They mix together a bunch of stuff.
Murphy,
So I am. They mix together a bunch of stuff for the little boy's sound. So there's the kind of and all the screeching stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also audio, I think, of one of their sons saying, "I hate you." And it's supposed to be buried quite down in the mix, but it's not. So when you listen to this scene, it's not coming out of his mouth because it's not synced up, but you hear him go, "I hate you," like that, just before he kills him. And it's, again, it adds to that kind of weird, dreamy quality, but it's not really supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Because then it looks like the kid's talking to him. But again, there's loads of lots of kind of abstract stuff in this, in a low key way.
Apart from that field, I mean, that is, you know,
that's not low key at all. It's very weird.
It is.
I think that's when the song by Grandaddy's playing. What's like AM 180 or something? I can't remember that track. It's one of the kind of.
I mean, I suppose it's supposed to be a sort of fourth wall break thing.
You go see that. These bits, you see, it's got kind of undercranked.
Yeah. Sort of chaos.
You might hear it, I don't.
Yeah.
But his lips aren't moving or anything. It's just this weird.
It's not very low down in the mix at all, is it?
Well, it was supposed to be.
Oh, I see.
It was supposed to be, but it's kind of louder than it should be.
Is it? But is it him really saying that to his youth? Is it,
yeah. Why not?
It's supposed to be symbolise him killing his youth and his innocence.
He should come out with a big beard.
Yeah. A giant set of balls,
massive set of knackers,
but no dick because it fell off. It was blown clean off.
When an epidemic of penis explosions hits the UK.
Sorry,
just laughing all the time.
Well, that looks
really great shot, that, isn't it?
Anglian.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. So I know a lot of. So the mansion they end up in is actually in Surrey, I think. They didn't really. I don't believe they went to the north. And I think elements of this are digital, but I think they did actually have to close sections of road to get it done. A lot of it is in kind of the south of England, and yeah, I understand at least one shot was in Cambridgeshire, but I've never had that verified. This is some abbey somewhere.
Presumably you film pretty much in the dead of summer to be able to get as much daylight as possible. First thing in the morning.
Because that the opening scenes, it's got that kind. It feels like summer sunlight, and it's probably like 4:30 in the morning or something to get.
It's got a kind of magic hour look to it, which I think it's because isn't it supposed to imply it's towards the end of the day? But
yeah, but in actual fact,
it's the beginning.
Because he goes in the church and it's dark when he comes out.
Yeah.
bloody hate it, I do.
No.
Eat your fucking apples. She got. I think she had some toxic waste there, as in the sweetie.
Yeah, right.
I saw a little toxic waste barrel. I swear down, fam. Look at them fucking horses.
Running around like nothing is wrong.
Or as we call them in London, GCSE courses. Have a grapple.
That is not even trying. Grapple.
Have a grapple. I'm having a wrestlers. The wrestlers grapple. An apple. Give him a snake's hiss, a kiss. I love being from London. I can speak London. I just done a fart. I was quite excited. Just slipped out.
Done a custard tart. I don't know.
Are you having a custard? Oh, London. The great thing about London is, like,
it's not here.
Well, if you take the piss out of Manchester
Yeah.
or Liverpool or even Birmingham, right, they get really fucked off. If you take the piss out of London, no one cares because they all hate themselves too much. It's brilliant.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
No one defends London.
We're close enough to. No, I suppose not. We're close enough to get away with kind of being Londoners in a way, sort of. Not really, but
Well, that's the thing. It's that sort of like London explosion. Because we're not even in the home counties. You know what I mean? We're fucking miles away. Well, not, but then not. Just England so dense like a fruitcake.
Well, it's also meaningless now anyway. It's like within under an hour we can be in the heart of London, so it's kind of like, well,
yeah, that's it. Of course, I'm slightly closer being in Cambridge.
let that one ride out.
Well off topic.
Off topic.
So yeah, there's a whole, like I said, there's a whole different ending that takes place. So what we're leading to here is, they get to the Manchester kind of barracks thing, and Frank gets infected, right?
Yeah.
And then they go off to the stately home with the soldiers. What happens instead is Frank gets infected. They go and find like a hospital, and there's a guy living holed up in a bunker, and he says he knows the cure. And what they have to do is like do a whole blood transfusion, and Frank will be cured. And Jim ends up giving up all his blood and sacrificing himself to save Frank. And it's a whole different thing. But I think Danny Boyle says, like, on the commentary, or on one of the extras, kind of like, well, it doesn't make sense. We've shown that you can get infected by one drop in your eye. So we suggested that they like sort of bleached out every one of his capillaries and replaced the blood.
Yeah,
didn't make any sense, so we just didn't go with it.
And also, like, even just thematically, that's a bit of a weird one, because it's kind of like you don't get the father figure, the kind of patriarch of the group, to then be the one you're trying to save, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah, and
he should be the sacrificial one.
What they do instead is quite, because they swap one father figure out for another one. And Frank's a kind of like, he's a sweet guy. He's kind of wholesome, earthy, salt of the earth dad, right? And he literally is a girl's dad. And then you have Christopher Eccleston, who he has that position over, and he even calls the soldiers his boys, and he speaks of them as his boys. And his plan is to rape everyone till there are babies. It's like, he's the opposite of Frank. They kind of substitute each other, and it's, he should be the one you trust because he's in position of authority and stuff, but actually, he's corrupt and he's in charge of it. He's basically got Lord of the Flies going on in this kind of manor house.
Frank.
Got it with Scapal, man. It's got my teeth wiggling. Jesus, days like these.
I don't blame you. Whatever.
It's a little, abandonment issues. I think that's Jim's whole thing, isn't it? It's been abandoned.
Yeah, I suppose. And now he is an orphan, and I mean, keeps waking up alone, doesn't he? That's the thing. He sort of keeps finding himself literally the only man on Earth, almost. Like,
psych.
Yeah, they're
nice
like,
Dutch angle there.
Yeah, that is a very good angle. Wow,
even just sheep hate you. Hey Jim, you fucking dickhead. Oh, you've got an abbey to yourself. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
They took the fucking apples, the cunts.
Again, dream, right? Dream
Yeah. And then they kind of do a fake out, like, so look, Frank comes to see to him when he's having nightmares and stuff. Like he's a kind, whereas Chris Eccleston's character sort of plays that to begin with, and then it's like, nah, sorry, I'm going to rape your mates now.
Yeah.
The worst part about that is as well, because it's not just like, at least like Serena's an adult, they're going to do it to little girl as well, and they make them wear dresses and stuff. It's just so fucking icky. It's really unpleasant. Here we go, look. They left you dick. That's what you get for dressing like a burglar. Psych.
Suicide doors. Okay.
My mum's car is like that, with the doors that open, suicide doors.
What car has your mum got?
It's this kind of. It's not a black cab, but it's not a black cab. It's like a family car, but apparently a lot of them are used as cabs. It's good for it's so my dad can get in and out.
How is it really old?
No, it's no more than 10 years old, I don't think. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really, I don't know about cars, Duncan. Yeah, I'll send you a picture or something. I don't know. So they do. It's digital, obviously, because Manchester hasn't really burnt down. Yeah. They have a kind of
hasn't it? Who could tell?
No. All the Mancs will be furious.
I like Manchester.
Manchester's beautiful, man. I've been there. I worked there. I've filmed there a few times in the last year or two, and yeah, it's beautiful. I'm a big fan of Manchester.
Yeah, I like Manchester. I like Leeds as well. Big fan of Leeds.
Yeah, Leeds, Liverpool as well.
Mm-hmm.
The North's fucking brilliant, mate.
Yeah, man.
I'm a fan.
Birmingham.
I'm off there next month. I don't mind Bram, to be fair.
It's alright.
He's got his Run DMC tracksuit on. See all that grain? It's so fucking grainy. Like, they got so many crisps.
It's funny because the kind of road trip. I mean, it's great that he's got a black cab as well, because it's so out of place, right? Like,
yeah,
so
exactly.
Displaced, refugee like.
And it's a nice kind of, it's a shorthand for Britain, isn't it? The black cab. It's a. This is like a composite. So you get like, and it's quite a nuts thing to do, because Manchester's very vast and everything, and just it's sold most on their reactions, right? It's like, yeah, Manchester's burnt down. So sorry about that.
Try Leeds.
Try Leeds. But not Wakefield. Fuck me. I'll leave Wakefield alone.
Rather live on the motorway.
There was no cars, no traffic.
Yeah. It's literally on fire.
Yeah. That's what you get, Manchester. For fuck's sake, Manchester. Who
exploding.
Who put some boxes by the fire exit? Like, what happened?
It must be the hairspray. The sheer amount of hairspray in Manchester. The safe.
Safe. I'm a banana.
Manchester.
Baby. Parky blinders.
For those in America who don't, Birmingham is where Peaky Blinders is set.
In case you're wondering. See, this bit is all kind of...
Not in Birmingham, no. Lived the governor.
Something about Neil Young. I can't remember. Mr. Young, should remember.
Dead in a plane crash. Anyway.
That's enough Leonard Skinner to it. This is probably one of the more budget-intensive bits.
Yeah.
Because this is like a whole set that's built up, or at least, it's probably a location that they've built up, but oddly enough, there probably isn't just a roadblock you can rent for the day. There's like there's military vehicles here and stuff, and
well, the way it's set up is that once they cross through the entrance to it, it's like you don't actually have to be on a motorway anymore, do you? So it can be like kind of, they can make that up,
and it works for the plot, because this is supposed to be the place to which they were summoned. I mean, I would go north. In particularly, it's even better. Well, no, hear me out. In a zombie situation, it would be good to go north, because it's less densely populated and it gets colder, which would be harder for the dead to move in. In this situation, you're waiting for these fuckers to starve to death, so you could put loads of tins of beans in your loft, sit there for a month farting your guts out, and hope you don't get firebombed, or go north and rinse and repeat. Do
they say much about, is the rest of the world infected? Like,
oh yeah, because so what the reveal in the third act is
Yeah, I forget. I mean, I have seen, by the way.
No, of course, no, that's fine.
The
The reveal in the third act is that, in actual fact, they told Britain it was the rest of the world, but in actual fact, they quarantined us and just let it roll, really. And then the second film basically is about how they're repopulating London with British people into safe zones. And surprise, surprise, that goes to shit. So, yeah, it is just Britain, we find out. Because the Scottish sergeant guy that's going to get executed with Jim, he tells Jim, and then you see like an aircraft. Go fucking where? I like this is kind of sad because it's the only time Frank kind of sort of cracks because he got pinned his hopes on it and stuff, and
it
hasn't gone his way. But this is the sort of thing that Danny Boyle says is like, look, a bit of blood goes in his eye and he turns. So then we're going to say, well, this blood transfusion will sort that out for you.
Yeah.
Which is good. I don't think that I like the alternative ending and watching it and stuff, but I don't think the film would have done as well with it in place.
Yeah, it can't be that simple, you know.
What's he goes, get out of it.
Yeah, well, it's that one moment of weakness, isn't it, of allowing yourself to fucking...
And bless him, because he seems like a sweet dude.
Yeah, but this is symbolic of the whole thing. It's like one moment of one lapse in discipline, dead. That's it.
Oh man, it's
Can't
awful as
afford
well.
that moment.
Because the way he talks to them, he goes like, "Stay back, sweetheart," and then he's like, "Rah!"
Yeah.
Oh, I've just got a bit of. It might just be crow's blood. I'm probably fine. Wanker. Oh yeah, does
Fuck.
Fat dickhead.
It's like Tourette's.
I'd love the Tourette's apocalypse. Yes, this is what makes this even sadder. It's just like, and this kind of like, is Jim going to kill him? So you could tell he doesn't want to, but being around her has kind of toughened him up, maybe. But luckily, he doesn't have to find out.
He just beat a child to death. But...
Yeah, but the child wasn't his mate, so. We were here all along.
Oh, I was wrong. We were here all along. Yes, you finally made a zombie out of me. Finally made a zombie.
I love you, Christopher Eccleston.
I hate every undead I see, from zombie to zombie.
Oh yeah, but they're not actually zombies. They're alive. So I'm Danny Boyle. This is how I sound.
Oh, Danny Boyle. Well, no, that's Ringo Starr. But
he's manky, Danny Boyle.
Yeah. So...
Hey, all right, I'm Danny Boyle. He's someone I've heard speak at great length many times.
Danny Boyle.
All right, I'm Danny Boyle. Fork and bangin'.
That's Lee Liverpool, man.
That's Lee Liverpool.
Hello, mate. I'm Lee Liverpool.
Hello, I'm Lee Liverpool.
I do have a friend called Lee from Liverpool, so maybe
that's not his surname, is it?
it might be.
Oh, there's a fuck up here. So the guy pulling the barrier back.
Yeah.
There was some kind of casting change up. So there's a soldier called Mailer who's infected that they've got chained up.
Right.
He's the guy we just saw open the gate, so it's a continuity fluff because they think they changed the casting. I forget that Christopher Eccleston has weird blonde hair in this.
Does he?
Yeah, when you see he's got this kind of like dye job. Look,
yeah.
It's odd, for that is not his hair colour. And all these You're soldiers,
not my friend in the north,
my enemy in the north. There's a deep cut for fans of British drama of the 1990s.
Have a bit drama.
I think you're probably going to recognise more of the soldiers than I do, because there's a few. I know one of them was a returning character on EastEnders. The kind of little wimpy one they'll bully was in Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton one. The Cockney Geezer has been in stuff. And definitely Scottish Sergeant guy's been in a bunch of stuff. But do I know their names? No, do I fuck? I hope I've dazzled you with talking about cameras an hour ago to make up. Like, just so much Jim bum.
And he got his lad out.
He got his lad out. He should start windmilling.
Standing over you with his lad in his hand, wanting you to degrade yourself.
His lad. I love lad.
in his
It's so
hand.
good. His lad in his hand.
There he got his lad out. What? He got his lad out. His lad. His lad in his hand. In his hand.
Cillian Murphy with his lad in his hand.
And then it fell off.
So many severed
That
penises.
thing fell off. God, we're so edifying on this one.
Yeah. So much dignity. There's a different energy in the room that there was this morning when we recorded the Batman commentary. Hey, look, I'm just trying to do earnest analysis of the film 20 days later, and you keep derailing it with your immature nonsense, which I in no way partake and want anything to do with. By which I mean I encourage it and partake in, obviously. So I understand that this is there was actually the person who owned this stately home lived in it. And so all the stuff when they're shooting for upstairs, there's actually rooms downstairs because the person was occupying the top floor, which must have been a fun couple of weeks.
I say, would you mind walking shouting the fuck out?
Do you mind?
I would you mind?
There's zombies are awfully loud. Hey, you know, they're not zombies. I'm Danny Boyle.
Making art here.
I directed
I
Train
thought you said
Spotting.
you were from Manchester.
This hey mate, this is Manchester. I'm from Manchester. I'm Danny Boyle. He says his name all the time.
He refers to himself in the third person.
Danny Boyle directed Train Spotting, and he's me. This is how I sound.
He's me.
He points to himself as well.
One day I'll be a James Bond director for all of about 3 hours.
I'm the fucking Queen in the future. I'm from Manchester, so I sound. I'm Danny Boyle.
Jesus. There goes my ever dwindling chances of working with the man. Sorry, Mr. Boyle.
Well, I had no chance to begin with, so that's all right for me.
You might.
I'm fine. I had my fun, and that's all that matters. See, look, he scruffs his hair and stuff. Like he really
tussles his hair like a...
father figures him and everything. It's quite it's a pretty spectacular sort of sequence when the kind of night comes down and it triggers the alarms and they sort of machine gun him.
Yeah, this is quite a sort of, again, this is another zombie trope of like finding solace and shelter somewhere only to find that it turns on you.
I don't know what you mean. That only happens in Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead,
Crazies kind of,
Diary of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, the remake of Dawn of the Dead, the remake of Day of the Dead, Day of the Dead Bloodlines, the second remake of Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead 3D, Night of the Living Dead 1990, Night of the Living Dead the animated one,
Jeffrey Archer, the Archer.
But apart from that, it doesn't happen in any of them.
To be fair, or a mix.
Or a mix back.
We've got SA-80s, haven't they?
Yeah.
The old shit rifles.
I think they've got better. I think it's because the M16 was a fucking disaster when that came out, and they just had.
Yeah.
Luckily, they've had 50 years to work on it.
Yeah. Well, I know it's funny like with firearms and stuff. You see that with like Glock, the Glock. Like,
So here you go. This is the guy who a minute ago was opening the gate.
He's all right when we get him to open the gate, but Richard Sarber, we have to give
He's
him a
great at gates, but he's shit at being alive.
Christopher Eccleston. Where's he from? I don't know Christopher.
Chris Roxon, I think he's from Manchester. I think he's definitely northern.
Yeah. Manchester. It's so easy to go into Scouse though, isn't it?
That's what I keep doing.
I don't fucking know. I'll put Paul O'Grady.
But I think he's a bit bacon head. Yeah, blood puking. Because that's something that I forgot. It's not just the attacks that they sometimes pin people down and puke blood in their faces.
That's what the first lady did, wasn't
it?
So what is it's a simian thing? It's coronavirus.
But
it's
from a box of imported Corona beers. Yeah.
It's isn't it what were the monkeys like? What was being tested on them?
It's a chimp. What?
Chimp,
wait,
whatever.
what are you talking about?
What was the test like? Why has it caused this?
So basically, have you seen Street Fighter the movie? When they show Blanca
under duress once.
They give Blanca loads of drugs and make him watch Nazis, and it makes him really angry. It appears to be that's what they did to the chimp, as far as we can tell, because they're showing it footage of stuff. Right. But it's basically it's a viral infection that they've created in chimpanzees, for some reason. I mean, that's all a bit fuzzy, and it spreads to humans, and He's ruined those sheets.
Hasn't he?
His mum is going to be furious.
His mum is just another army person. Yeah, he gets in his. He puts his
Like dress uniform on. Yeah.
There is someone in a pinny there.
Yeah, so that's the one they bully. They call him Doris, like he's the little wimpy one.
Natasha? Doris. So
that
True
guy.
Lies reference.
That guy.
Is it Natasha? She said in True Lies, she goes, "Your name will be Natasha." Doris.
He's made scrambled eggs. Now, we don't want you to panic, but we intend to repeatedly rape both of you whilst Jim watches.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see or hear.
Good eye, mate. I'm from Manchester, which is in England. My name's Danny Ball.
Blew his dick clean off.
I'm afraid that all of their dicks were blown right off.
Oh, I'm afraid.
Your dick will be blown completely off when your friends arrive.
You want this? Dick.
No, Mr. Bond, I expect your dick to fall off.
Yeah, because you're strapped to a table with a laser up your jaffers.
A willy up your jaffers. I mean, if that worked, it would just kind of bisect his willy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Straight down the middle, assuming they've
if it's dead on. Yeah.
pinned it down. Yeah. Yeah, you fucking what? He's really great as just obnoxious monster. I mean, this kind of setup is very much Day of the Dead. Soldiers in the bunker with the commanding officer and all that kind of lark. It's not exactly a cut and paste, but it's very, very similar. And particularly, you know, a lot of, because Day of the Dead has a singular female character, and a lot of the atmosphere in the bunker is regards to sexual menace and the threat of rape. Like it's this persistent kind of thing. Whereas in this, which isn't particularly foregrounded as much as it is in this film. Like in this film, it's very much like, we need to make babies, I promise some women. You know, whereas like in Day of the Dead, it's kind of like gross comments and looks and stuff like that. So I think Jim just sort of like bails out on dinner, and then it's like, well, tie him up and execute him. This is kind of.
Was it supposed to be sort of Last Supper-y as well? Because it's kind of.
Yeah, it is the dinner scene he runs out. I have remembered that right. Because I think, and it's when. Oh no, that's it. It's after dinner, after the infected attack. They're not zombies. I'm more cleverer than that. They are. Have you ever seen The Quiet Earth? The New Zealand film, The Quiet Earth? No. That's about a man who wakes up and everyone's gone as well. But the kind of cool thing about The Quiet Earth is there are no zombies or things like that. Like the world is just empty.
That sounds pretty cool.
It's fucking cool,
for a
man.
day.
For a day.
I'd love that for a day.
For a day, if everyone just fucked up.
Yeah.
That's sort of that is the film equivalent of, I just want to sit down.
If you could click your fingers a la Thanos and everyone would just fuck off, and then but you could click them and they'd be back again.
I'd do that a lot, man.
Do you think on balance they'd be gone more often than they were around? Like that's.
But yes, I think they would. And secondly, the problem with that is if you do that, every plane that's currently in flight is just going to fall out of the sky. But then again, you could just wait half an hour and then click them back so they reappear 14,000 feet in the air.
Well, I mean,
if you're feeling guilty, you could go and set up loads of trampolines, I guess.
Actually, well, technically, the planes in the air would probably stay in the air because they'd be on autopilot. But the ones taking off or landing,
well, where would the people reappear though?
Well, back where they were, I guess, which is a problem.
Hopefully, on the plane, you would hope.
That's crashing.
I mean, because that's kind of a Bernard's watch situation. What you're better off doing is like slowing down time, right, or stopping time.
Yeah, but then you can't just go around and do anything, can you? Cause,
well, I don't know. It depends what you want to do. If your plan is just to have a big wank all the time.
No, that was what was that bit of meat that landed in the fence? I think it's his dick.
That zombie was carrying a carry bag full of dicks.
Why was he? Why did he collect?
He collected all the ones that fell off.
Yeah, as well, it is a bit fast and loose. Sometimes they can hack to zombies to death or blow them up and get covered in their guts, but that doesn't infect them.
It's a little bit inconsistent like that, yeah, because there's big splats of gore kind of fly over and whatnot. But yeah, because the general thing is the little splat will fucking do you. Oh, Mitchell, you're such a shitbag. Oof. Do a suplex. Farrell, that's the Scottish guy's name.
Right.
He's not on board with Operation Baby Factory, so you know that seals his fate. He's not going to pass his performance review.
Sorry, no.
Colonel, this is Snake. Stop it. I think the amount of stately homes in England that just must make fucking bank off of filming in them. So Nebworth House we were saying earlier was Batman Begins, and I think it's a in Batman Begins, Batman 89, and it's definitely in England, but I think the Wayne Manor from Batman Begins is also in Hertfordshire, if I remember correctly.
Oh god, it's what is it?
Cromley Bum House.
Yeah, I can't remember now. They use a lot of like Luton Who. They use a lot for interiors and stuff. There's this whiskey. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a lot of these sort of homes and stuff. Like obviously the prominent ones, Pinewood, Shepperton, and stuff. They've all been turned into massive studios.
Become studios.
There's other ones that have been used for like when we were shooting Erica. There was a lot of we got a lot of sets out of old homes. One of them was actually an old animal testing facility, which is
just relevant.
but then the other one was had been built on into offices and stuff. So that happens a lot as well. They're all just because I guess they sit in big grounds, so it's like you can turn them into.
Yeah, true. You've got that kind of surrounding area.
Yeah.
I mean, and also this country makes a lot of period drama. So we've got Emma coming out, and then there's the David Copperfield film and Ian Ucci's doing. That's just 2 coming out this month.
Yeah, right.
And then there's all the shit on TV, Downton Abbey, and fucking Call the Midwife when they do an episode in a stately home, whatever, and whatever. So, you know, they make bank. Ely Cathedral. I was at Ely Cathedral when they were filming Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, right. What on earth were they filming in there?
Well, it's just a kind of, you know, you can make it look like, you could probably just dress it like a Renaissance cathedral or something, can't you? It doubled as, Ely Cathedral doubled as Westminster Abbey for the King's Speech. They filmed there.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's pretty vast.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of neck, hasn't he, Chris Ferguson? These are both
both
very
do,
necky.
Yeah.
So if David Tennant was there, they just look like sentient trees.
Giraffe, motherfucker.
Giraffe people. There's a deleted scene where Jim eats leaves off a tree when he's hungry.
A slightly higher tree.
A slightly higher tree
than the one Naomi Harris has to.
They didn't have craft services. They just ate from trees.
Yeah.
Oh God. Run away, run away.
Yeah, that's
run
often the
away.
thing as well. There's always a B plot that actually
Transition.
there are humans that have turned, you know, that turn against other humans, you know.
Yeah, that I mean that is the Romero thing that happens in literally every film. It's like the humans are the real enemy. You know, like society eats itself, which, you know, can get a bit depressing after a while. Like Day of the Dead and Land of the Dead both end on fairly positive notes relative to the rest of the film. Day of the Dead has to because it's so fucking grim. So like it at least ends on a kind of upbeat, on a bit of an uptick. And yeah, one of the shot endings of this is that Jim dies. So what actually, like, he shoots Jim and then they escape, and you see Jim, Naomi Harris, and little girl living in a, you know, in the Shetland Isles or whatever, on a little house. I think it's the Lake District actually, but they shot a version where Jim's just not there, so it's just Selena and what's her name. And I think in the US, when they released it in the US, they bolted the alternative ending on as a post-credits thing for you to watch if you wanted.
Okay.
And I think they released it as like 29 days later or something with the alternative ending. And I think when Sky broadcast it, they put the alternative ending on the end as well. Because I think this is where the Simpsons joke is, but we can't hear it. I think it's funny because I think people are kind of unsatisfied with the ending. And I will say this kind of has third act problems. Because it doesn't really, and I think Alex Garland's kind of famous for that, which I don't think is necessarily.
A lot of people are though. I mean, I think, you know, it's very hard to write good third act.
And Halo, I love this film, and I'm happy with how it ends. But I think because it's all a bit wrapped up in a bow, you know. But I'm fine with that. The poor bastard has just had the worst fucking time to have him die.
Right.
But the idea was that it comes full circle because he wakes into this world and then dies in the world, and it does that 28 days later thing at the end. But it's just grim. I mean, I don't know why you'd prefer why you would want that, because it's it's just like that ending is just downbeat for the sake of being downbeat, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things where it's like, I don't know, there needs to be a cost to things, and you need to kind of understand that this is an unrelenting world, and there's no safety nets anymore, and it's like, so I suppose, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it's like what happens with Frank. It's kind of like there's no justice, there's no nothing, there's no system that will keep you safe or that will, offer you any kind of justice. It's just like, nah, you're fucked. That's how shitty life is sometimes.
Yeah, so fuck you.
Yeah.
This is where, and I will say this, we haven't really talked about the pacing of this film, but it's only 90 minutes long, so it's quite neat 3 acts, kind of 3.5 hours, and it's all made by very experienced filmmakers, and I think the combination of it's the editing, the cinematography, the direction, and the music just cause it to build and build and build. And I think John Murphy's a really amazing composer, and I think the way this third act is structured, he does a variation. It sounds a lot like the track in The House in a Heartbeat. It sounds like the Godspeed You track, but it isn't it. And it's kind of woven throughout the last bit of the film, so it just builds and 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 builds. It just creates this really great sort of tension. I know they covered there's loads of alternative stuff, because some infected get into the house in the end, but they shot it so there was hundreds of them in there, so it looked like Day of the Dead, which they ended up not doing. So they made it so there was way more in the house, and so you can see that kind of B-roll on the DVD.
Yeah.
Which I can't find my copy of the DVD, which I bought on release, which I think I might have Music Magpied, so we're streaming it instead.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because that DVD had really great extras on it, and I think I probably just purged it off when I was getting rid of physical media, because I'm never going to have a mortgage, because this generation sucks.
I've got a mortgage.
Good for you.
I got
a mortgage.
I sleep in a big bed with my wife. How's that race car bed?
I rent a house in central Cambridge, do you? I own a big house with my wife.
That's a lie, it's not that big.
Yeah, well.
No, that's, you're right, though. I mean, I was in that boat for a long time, and it's only really well, I had to nearly die in a car crash. But
maybe I should do that.
No.
Some good imagery there of the barbed wire over the corpses, and the fact that he's had to hide among the bodies and shit.
You look like he hit the camera then. Jumped down.
He's a skinny boy.
Yeah, he's been in pretty good nick.
I think a lot of that's being young there, though, isn't it? I'm not saying he wasn't in good nick, but when you're 20, everybody looks like that.
Yeah.
Apart from fat people.
Apart from me. My fat ass.
My fat ass. Yeah, he's gone. He's over. The only thing worse than being killed by the infected is being killed by the northern infected. I don't want to be puked on.
Stench of lardy cakes in the air.
Certainly final moments being beaten to death by someone whose fingers smell of pies. So I had the mic away from my mouth there. I'm sorry.
Woodburn.
Woodbines.
Woodbine.
Puking blood in your face whilst wearing a flat cap. I'm joking.
Sorry,
of course.
Frank.
We're joking. I fucking mate.
This is what tips him off, right? Because he's a plane fighter.
Yeah. So Farrell told him, he didn't believe him, and then he sees the aircraft when he's outside the grounds. And then this is where he goes full Rambo. He runs off. He runs off to the barricade, and basically Rambo's up. And then the film. This is what I kind of like. The film. It's obvious that he's not infected, but the film uses the language. It uses the visual language of the infected that it spent the last 2 acts establishing to cover Jim.
Yeah,
and it builds subtly. So when they do the undercrank thing, when he's in the vehicle, sort of flipping out because I think he can't get it to start or something, and it's the undercranked effect.
Well, because it's is that visual language to say someone's infected, or is it to say they want to kill people?
Well, that's the thing. We've only ever really seen it used on infected up to this point.
Or is it just rage? Is that what it represents? As rage?
Yeah, because the virus is called the Rage. Right. So it's like, yeah, it's basically. Oh, this is so great. And she's like, oh God, this is so horrible, because she gives the girl the Valium and she's like, are you trying to kill me? And she's going like, no, I'm making it so you won't care.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Well, she's so sort of bleak, isn't she? She's
yeah,
really
God, you're bleakly pragmatic.
Yeah.
She's all fucking
Another
gym. She's
skinny
gym
bugger.
fit as well. Like, she
Yeah.
just showed she had like 6-pack on.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Fat cunt like me.
Yeah, God, mate, I feel really fat watching this.
The
sat
young,
around all day
thin
watching.
people.
Yeah.
Well, the only fat character is now dead, so there's no more. I like see that guy was in EastEnders, the guy on the left. I can't remember his character's name. His mate with the fucked up hair.
What's that about? Why has he got fucked up here?
I think there's
Alopecia or something?
no. I don't know. I don't think they reference it in the film anywhere. I think it's just one of these weird background. I mean,
Alopecia areata.
the way I view it is
I had that.
oh, okay. I wonder if it's just stupid fucking soldier prank where they've shaved chunks out of his head.
That's true, yeah.
Because they do dumb shit like that, don't they?
Again, it's depth and layers and sort of texture, isn't it? That stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
so many films don't do that.
So that's what I like about this. Yeah, exactly. Because you're having kind of filmmaker like Danny Boyle involved. There is this kind of texture to it. This exact same script could be such a sort of hokey B movie, which would probably be quite a fun hokey B movie, but it's handled like a kind of art house movie, which I like.
But this is what as well, having its own internal logic doesn't mean you have to explain away everything as well. It's like it's a lesser filmmaker would have someone who like, oh Jim, shut up Jim.
Zack Snyder.
No, but someone would be like, shut up Jim, or we'll shave your hair again,
Yeah,
or something,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, or like whatever. They'd make a reference to it. It's like, because we have to know why, and it's like, no, we don't.
Yeah, see, it's kind of like, I think it's a combination of high shutter speed and undercranked.
This is another thing. It rains like fuck once Frank is dead.
Yeah, exactly. Bless him.
Fucking England.
Plus, they're in the north, which is miserable. Look, I'm not sincerely taking the piss out of the north.
Kind of in the north. Well, it depends where the north starts. Where does the north start?
I'd say at the A14. There's a local joke. It's a joke for anyone who lives in this area.
Typical cyclist.
This is the north as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Vile.
Well, yeah, I mean, Peterborough's pretty shit. To be honest.
Bless Peterborough. Keeps getting voted the worst place in Britain. Oh. You dingbats. Yeah, because he gets this. It's kind of odd because this guy, he kind of kills. I think he just murders him because he then leaves him as a trap in the car. Because it's great. It's a single take, and ironically, Batman's out, and Jim did audition for Batman for Batman Begins. Apparently, Jim,
Cillian Murphy, yeah.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, there's you can see the footage is on.
Was the screen test that got
the
released?
screen test is on, yeah, he's in the Forever costume. But I mean, yeah, I don't think he was ever. Again, you sort of look at him and it's like he's not right for that. But
No, greatest scarecrow there.
Brilliant, yeah, Crane.
So when he kills this guy, he kind of props him up, and he's like sat in the car with his eyes open, and it's grim.
I have to say, I remember when I saw the trailer for Batman Begins, I thought Cillian Murphy was terrible, and then I thought, oh god, he's so overacting and stuff.
Yeah, because they use that bit where he's like, "It's the
Batman and all that sort of stuff, and I was like, oh god, he's really over-egging this. And then when I saw it in the film as well, I didn't really like that bit. But then, as a whole,
it's nice.
As a whole, it's like he's really good.
It's a bit of a shame how they kind of throw him away in the third one. They give him. It's nice that he's there.
Well, and the second one.
Is he not in the second one? Is
Yes,
he?
he is. He's at the start, isn't he?
Oh yes, of course he is.
Batman's like taking him out again because
Dole.
yeah, that's more like it.
Oh, you're here. Well, if you've studied the car, we might as well leave.
We can finish our game of chess. Hey!
Wait a minute.
I better fire indiscriminately in that direction. I'm Christopher Eccleston.
I sit in a car. I sit in a stately home with my soldiers.
Do you come with the car?
Oh, you. I think Simpsons references are thematically appropriate.
Definitely. You fuck meat.
Oh,
At least
tits.
he's got some banging tits.
Quickly, shoot the dicks off.
Maybe she's not properly infected. Her tits haven't fallen up.
Quickly, shoot her in the tits.
Pardon me, do you still have your dick? Ah.
Oh, no. See when because I keep forgetting her bloody name. The girl, she's when she's high. Yeah. There's some quite funny dialogue when she's high. And they do a kind of, pretty sure, kind of a dreamy thing with her when she's going down the corridor and her dress is kind of flowing and stuff. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Blah. So that is quite irresponsible because there are the two people you're trying to save. It's like when someone's being kidnapped in a car and they shoot the tires out and it crashes. It's like,
yes, I saved them.
You're trying to save that person. Like, what are you doing?
Yes, I saved them. This is great work by me.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm sure there's some when she gets kind of turned loose because she just starts like running around the house, doesn't she? When it kicks off.
Who does?
Little girl. She's running around all high.
Okay. Cause I got a
Oh god, I had some Valium when I was broken leg in among all the stuff. It really is the trippiest fucking stuff.
Is it?
Well, no, it's not trippy at all. What it is because you're so stoned. You're just kind of like, So you don't, trippy is absolutely the wrong word. You don't see anything or anything like that.
That's one of those shots. Sorry, yeah.
Well, like a
sorry, not that.
Shut up.
That sounds really rude. I'm sorry. There, like that, where you've got the kind of foreground in focus and background in focus, but then to pull round from it is really hard to do, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you'd be shooting sort of like at a narrow aperture, so I mean, yeah.
That was the thing, sort of 70s cinema used to do, wasn't it? You'd have that blurry bit down the middle.
Yeah, because Tarantino does that in Reservoir Dogs, doesn't he? Because it's essentially two focal depths in one shot.
Yeah. Hiya! Oh, you fucker stood by and watched as my dick fell off. Did nothing.
You didn't even try and stitch it back on.
Yeah, it's all mad now. I'm angry. Gonna bite your dick off.
I'm gonna do a sick. Oh no, I don't want a sick. Look at that, it's so grim. It's so much of it. So.
Cherry cock. Hey-o. Hey-o.
Hey-o. Our daughter's sick. Like that guy on the right has, I think, like no dialogue. He just stands around.
He's just like right at the end of the film. He goes, and then he cuts the credits like he's going to say something. It's a weird ending.
Yeah, that was the third alternative ending.
It seems to have slightly lost its. Well, not quite, but I mean, it's almost gone a bit more cinematic, isn't it? Like it's.
Yeah, there's a bunch because there's stuff like this. So they kind of because I think also the thing to remember is that once they're in here, they could be more creative because they're on location, right? They're not. There's less of that pressure, so I feel like they kind of had more time to shoot. Well, obviously they had more time to shoot in this location, but they could sort of do more with it. So I presume these are more high-end cameras and stuff.
I mean, it's like that is proper cinema rain, is it? It doesn't rain like that. But you have to make it piss.
It's almost as if it's just a hose pressed against the window.
Yeah. I mean, I've filmed with rain machines, and it's like because just to register on camera, it's got to be massive drops of rain.
I think. Oh, there you go. She's sort of like. I like that she sort of disappears into the darkness. Like there you go.
Yeah, that's quite Shining-esque.
Yeah, and there's. I think you actually see some of the lamps in this, and I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's just they're supposed to have generator lamps everywhere, which just happen to create dramatic lighting.
We put the lighting in the set, mate. I did an advert years ago, and we were filming in London. And one of the scenes I was supposed to be running down the street in the rain, and they had literally like a tanker around the corner full of water, and they set up these like hoses, and then it pumps through, like using a generator and a pump and stuff, and it's properly like.
See, that's just silly with a whole rifle sticking out.
Stay there.
Also, he's the kind of hopeless soft one, and Jim just ruthlessly fucking kills him. He's still part of it, I guess. That's great as well. The light dips down, and when it comes back up, they're just standing there.
Yeah.
That's a really nice bit of stuff. And he goes for safety rooms always have those fake doors.
Yeah,
real fake doors. You see, this is a more kind of father figure stuff. He comes and sort of like sits with him as he dies. I think he holds his hand.
Yeah, it's not a prodigal son thing, is it? But it's that returning to the home to find all your children dead or whatever.
Carry on my wayward dad, who's come home to find everybody dead.
Carry on my wayward Christopher Eccleston.
The prodigal Chris Eccleston.
Made that work, didn't I?
It's a shambles, this commentary. You see, this is what this mansion needs is uplighting for us to survive as school soldiers.
Yeah, because the zombies will think we're taller than we are.
Go into the Range of Manchester and get some colour gels. They'll think we're taller than we are.
This will be silhouetted.
Except for Chris Eccleston and his massive neck. What they've done is there's another stately home half a mile away, and they've set it up Home Alone style with loads of cardboard cutouts on rails.
They're such egotists, though. They strap on big, like, dicks so that it looks like they're walking around with huge
dick silhouettes. Joke's on you. You're a reflection.
And my dick fell off ages ago. My duck.
What duck?
My lovely lady duck. Check it out.
My duck. I made you think you're a reflection. You idiot.
There's a lot of stuff made of that, like which like, it's someone looking in the mirror. I mean, Face Off famously has a not so subtle thing where they're both standing behind mirrors and they're looking at themselves, but they're not.
But not themselves.
Yeah.
I want to take your face off.
At the gay bar. Gay bar. I don't know why, it just sort of seemed to work.
Excellent, I did it really right, yeah. Creepy dolls are creepy. Oh yeah, this guy, because Jim is fucking ruthless. He's just like, I haven't got any bullets. He just fucking leaves him. So fuck you prick.
Well, you're no good to well because he's learned survival, hasn't he? He's learned like
yeah, these fuckers have just been chilling here, like
yeah.
And it just kind of does. It just shows them as being cowardly fucks, doesn't it? Really, they're nothing without their guns.
When the chips are down.
Gotta give it up for the touch of my Corona. That's right, I'm rebranding the coronavirus.
It's like profiteering.
It's about time someone capitalised.
I've trademarked the term coronavirus.
Every time it's like the Heimlich manoeuvre. Every time you use it, you have to pay me. Every time you save someone's life.
All right, Harlan Ellison.
Where's the thing that we talked about with Die Hard? It's like, did someone, because they say the Helsinki syndrome, and it's like they worried about getting in trouble for saying the Stockholm syndrome. It's really weird.
Yeah.
You're the worst. You're just like Steel from Day of the Dead. But you're a Cockney geezer. I'm a Cockney geezer.
Cockney geezer.
I'm a banana. I will say, so they do a bit where Jim's face, so this bit, right, we know he's not infected. Like, you've seen his eyes and stuff. They play it as ambiguous. And then he stands in the shadow, because she says, I'll kill you in a heartbeat. And he runs at her, and she doesn't kill him. He goes, that's more than a heartbeat. And it's like, that's, cool and romantic, considering you just batter someone to death and put your thumbs in his eyes.
Yeah.
But she could have just cut your fucking head off.
But this is... yeah,
Look
but
at this. There's a close-up coming. Oh.
But it's rage, isn't it? It's like... that's what it's symbolising. It's like it's
and he's covered it because he's he's at his worst. He's just like the infected outside. Like, he's covered in blood.
Yeah.
It gives her cause to think that he's infected because he just runs up to her now. She don't want to do it because she loves him so much. Like,
there's something or nothing.
let's fuck.
I'm covered in other people's blood.
What is this? I watched something recently where people are covered in blood and they just start having like a big snog. It's like, oh. I mean, I get the moment. There are charged moments, but come on, guys.
Right.
I want to see the film where someone's cock's just covered in blood and they start having sex.
Do you though?
Yes. The thing is, I am joking, but that definitely exists somewhere, thanks to the internet.
Probably. Like a Blade porn parody.
This ain't Blade XXX, a porn parody. Oh, that was a valuable vase.
You knocked my dick off.
That jar had my dick in it.
Like Brundlefly, apparently.
Apparently.
Supposedly,
we're led to
but I'm
believe.
not so sure about it.
Did we do commentary to that? No.
No,
We reviewed it, didn't we?
No.
Yeah, we
yes,
breaked
did,
it.
yeah.
We are getting to that point where we've done nearly 70 episodes of that, so it's getting increasingly difficult.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff we still haven't covered.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be a day, I think. We've already had the incident where we shot an episode. I basically edited it and then forgot to release it.
Oh yeah.
I'm waiting for the day when we go all the way through of like shooting an episode, editing it, releasing it, and then realising that we've already done it. That's the other thing that can happen. Taxi! Oh, she's going to get a
Don't forget to rate your driver.
Someone's getting a 1-star rating.
Yeah, it's like Ed Wynn. Don't forget to use your nails, boys. Or,
The Scoutmaster.
yeah, that's it. But
Get 'em, boys!
Get 'em. Don't you know? Just yelling. This is my house, motherfucker.
Oh no, it's a chained up gate. What you gonna do?
Oh me, oh my.
So yeah, this goes to the loss of this film, which in one version, Jim's just dead now, but in the version we have, Jim's alive. Which is there's also something relating to. So they've made a giant sign out of fabric. A giant dick. They should be living in that. Where's the mountain with the cave one with the erect penis on it? You know what I'm talking about? It's not a mountain, it's a hill in England with the chalk thing.
Oh, yeah.
It says hell when it comes out. It must be like Robocop when Shell says hell. Yeah, they was like Serena's been sewing together all these sheets to make it say hello in perfect font. And they say in the commentary like it would have taken some insane amount of fabric or whatever, and there's no way she could have gathered and but never mind.
At some point you must be doing that going, there's more uses for this.
I mean, that little girl froze to death, but
yeah. And he wakes up naked again.
his dick out again.
I made some improvements. It's like, you cut my fucking dick off.
She's replaced it with some bed sheets.
Yeah. Where are they? The Isle of Man?
No, it's not that at all. I got completely wrong. It's the Peak District, I think, the Lake District.
Okay.
And the pilots here, I think the pilots are speaking Norwegian or Danish, as they're supposed to be like Scandi Air Force.
Okay. There's some shape there.
Flying over, and there's some starving boys. This sucks.
I can't find my dick.
In the Lake District, they say, Jim's dick grew 3 times that day.
Flew 3 times. That does bring what happens when you run out of canned food.
Be a lot less farting. They got plenty of shampoo to drink. Don't worry about it.
Or something or whatever or nothing. Makes you wonder if that happened, would there be enough canned food in the country to let you live?
For me,
for the rest
yeah,
of your
absolutely.
life?
Oh, for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
I'd have thought so. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a very long life.
It's
horribly undernourished.
Die of type 2 diabetes.
Can a man live on Campbell soup alone? No.
It turns out, no.
The answer is no.
Unfortunately, no one's around to find that out. So.
Well, this is just the font of this construction is just insanely neat. It's wonderful. I mean, she has got great graphic design skills. I like the last shot of this is him kind of like just looking up at the sky. It's quite a nice last shot, and it kind of
Wearing a red jumper though. That Star Trek for He's Gonna Die.
Yes, that Star Trek where he's gonna die. But he's not as angry as this film would have you suggest.
He's got a proper like 90s baggy
That, yeah. Baggy clothing. Baggy clothing. Do. It'd be great if they just bombed them.
Yeah.
Look at that impeccable font work.
Yeah.
It's outstanding.
I am from Scandinavia. I cannot read your English.
Hurdy-gurdy.
What does that mean? It's like, you're speaking English now. What?
Am I? No, you're speaking Norwegian.
What's the Family Guy where he gets on the truck full of Mexicans trying to cross the border?
Oh, it was. I can only speak that sentence. And this one explaining it.
And this one explaining it.
Okay. Oh, I feel like this is going to be one of our most hated commentaries yet. I feel like I tricked people by front loading it with trivia, and then it just turned into dicks falling off.
That was my fault.
45 minutes.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think that people. I think that was full of interesting stuff.
Interesting things for you to listen to. Tell to all your friends. Jays. That was many accents.
Yeah,
Jays. Well, there you go. I'm caught up for doing the second one. It's been requested before, and it's never been done before by any configuration of us.
very good. So, well, I need to watch it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good fun. I don't remember it being particularly long either. It is good. It's a good movie. It's very glossy compared to this, and I'm glad they didn't set it in America, because that's just when they do that, it's just like, oh, fuck off. They did do the thing of putting Americans in it, though. Idris Elba plays an American. But then you've got Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner, and you've got what's her name? Oh, I've forgotten her name. The famous actor that's the main female lead now. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. And I kind of think, because they put Robert Carlyle in it, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like he's there to sort of go like, well, we know Danny Boyle's not directed this, but here's someone that's in his films. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it felt a bit like that to me. But I do like a bit of Bobby Carlyle, so.
Yeah, he's on a show at the moment, I think, on
it's
something.
on Sky, I think.
Yeah,
He's playing like a politician. Is he playing the Prime Minister or a politician or something?
Something like that. But he's not done an awful lot.
No, well, he was in a bloody
Recently.
Stargate show, wasn't he? That seems to be the last big thing he was in.
Well,
Yeah,
he's in
Stargate
Trainspotting
Universe.
too, I suppose.
Of course, yeah.
Which was
Where
brilliant.
he's
He's
delightfully psycho in that.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic. And he's Bond villain as well, of course. But,
Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, I like that Bond movie. What's that? The World's Not Enough. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
It's all, yeah. It's. I like it. It marks a turning point, though. Shall we say that?
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah.
Martin Campbell again, isn't it?
No, that's Michael Apted.
Oh, Michael Apted. Of course it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
The strangest entry in his 7-Up documentary.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a spy now.
Gorillas in the face.
Gorillas in the face.
I mean, the mess. That was the porn parody.
XX.
This
This ain't Gorillas in the Mist XXX, a porn parody. The really tasteful porn parody. Which is presumably someone who looks like Sigourney Weaver being banged by a man in a gorilla suit.
Just a hair shoot man.
Hairy man.
Robin Williams level. Oh my!
The late Robin Williams.
Oh, come on now.
The tragic story of the naturalist Diane Fossey recreated in porn with Robin Williams.
Fossey, Twyla. Whoa. Madonna.
Oh God.
Fossey Graham. You were doing eclectic dance. And fuck as well.
Oh look, Simon fucks. Does she? That's not really what that says. Folks. Folks. There was someone called whose surname was Jungfleisch, which sounds like Young Flesh to me.
Yeah.
My name is Jung. Oh, Ricky Bart.
I'm sure someone way back when I used to work in an office over 10 years ago, someone whose surname was Pusey, or like it sounded like it was like sort of pussy, but like Pusey, which is weird. Oculus.
There you go. Foley at Pinewood.
Ah,
Re-recording at Shepperton.
fair
There
enough.
you go. Ged God Lynch.
I've not done. Have I done it? No, I've not done the ADR at Pinewood. I've done it at Shepperton. They've got big studio, big engineer boothy thing. There's theatres there.
Oh, I forgot this has Brian Eno track in it as well.
Brian Eno.
Hello, you Brian Eno from Roxy Music.
Brian Eno. Do you know Brian Eno?
Frosty the Snowman, he's got a penis on his face.
Yeah.
That's how that goes, isn't it?
Because it fell off in the film and we stuck it back in place.
It's a carrot penis.
A complete. There you go. Well, no animals were opt. No animals were
Thanks to Lois Lane. Chris Elaine and Lois Lane, that's it. And Lois Lois Lane. Just like the fictional comic character.
Oh.
The Lake District and Stuttgart.
Oh, yeah. Salisbury. Salisbury, whatever. Don't know about. Well, there you go. It was 28 days later. And if you want to see 28 weeks later, please put a coin in the slot. And by that, of course, I mean please check out our Patreon. which is down below. Please check out our Google tips. Demolition Man is about to start. Let's not watch that. Yeah, thank you very much for listening along, and check out our social medias and shit. And I want to go to sleep now. Okay.
Tatty bye.
Goodbye.
Support your 7th or 8th favourite YouTube channel by buying crap, tat, junk, hogwash and filth at redbubble.com/people/Val Verde Shop.